local currency lost some ground today, trading above 17.60 against the US dollar. This as the greenback surged ahead as investors anticipated that a Trump presidency which promises to be trade protectionist in nature would likely raise global inflation. But this rand weakness is expected to be temporary.
I think when we're looking at the fundamentals right now, the rand should strengthen again after this initial reaction. But a lot depends on Trump's rhetoric around the trade story, as well as the actual implementation, which now looks a little bit more likely to us, especially because you have this red wave scenario where Republicans have also gotten hold of the Senate or regained control of the Senate. If we just look at the fundamentals and what we were expecting, you would have expected this to be very short-term in nature and for the rand to strengthen again. But we know that currencies can be quite volatile and they can react to things like what the President of the United States says.
Donald Trump has been trumpeting the message of putting America first and very directly indicating his intention to raise tariffs against China, which he sees as a key threat to the US's industrial progress. Should he effect this policy once he takes over the reins in January next year, it could have material consequences for a number of countries.
He managed to make it very clear that the primary economic concern internationally was competition from China, and that therefore his proposed remedy was to increase tariffs rather dramatically. Now, that's going to have an effect on world trade generally, and I think it should be pointed out that if it comes to pass, that will have a significant impact on South Africa and Africa generally.
Professor Spector says given a now Republican president and predominantly Republican Senate, South Africa will likely face an uphill struggle to convince America about the mutual benefits of its continued inclusion in the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or also known as AGOA, which gives African exporters the opportunity to export a number of goods into U.S. markets duty or tariff-free.
It is distinctly possible that they will carve South Africa out of AGOA if it is renewed. There is the question about whether or not it would even be renewed in the first place. The people in the House who have spoken against South Africa's continued inclusion, that up until now, that certainly did not represent a majority view, but to the extent to which South Africa has been unable or unwilling to make the case that it should be included because it is beneficial for America that South Africa is included, is, I think, a very difficult hill for South Africa to climb. I know there have been a couple of delegations to the U.S., and they came back saying we had all the handshakes, we had smiles, we had the photograph, there was much love, we kissed, we hugged, everything was great. But that did not translate into making Congress feel comfortable.
Analysts are warning that a Donald Trump presidency could represent a rough ride for South Africa in the trade stakes. And with the implications for businesses and jobs, this is something the country can ill afford. Nompumelelo Siziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.